Hello, this is Tom from Three Basket Living, where we try to not put all our eggs in one basket. Today, the year is 2020, right before a major election in the fall. And for you preppers, gardeners, people who are attempting to gain more self-reliance and self-sustainability, this next growing season in 2021 in the spring could very well turn out to be the absolute most important growing season of your life, considering the silliness going on across the world. So, as in every fall season, after the end of your growing fruits and vegetables, we have continued tasks that we must do, or I hope you're doing anyway, because they can play a significant contribution to the success of your next growing season. Think of it like this. Your 12-year-old child finally learns how to dress themselves, brush their own teeth, tie their own shoelaces, possibly even make their own peanut butter and jelly sandwich if they get a little hungry. Does your parenting duties and responsibilities come to an end at that point? No, not if you're a good parent. And the same holds true when it comes to gardening and growing our own food. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about our fall garden cleanup and what that entails for me. And it might pertain to a lot of folks out there gardening in the same method and style that I do. I'll be right back. All right, I decided to get behind the camera at this point once I collected a few items here. We come to my garden. It's almost come to a halt. I have a few things left here that I'm trying to get another harvest out of, such as my tomatoes, in particular those yellow plum tomatoes down there. When we talk about cleanup, what we're referring to for a lot of people that are gardening is getting our cattle panels out, trellises, cages, T-posts, pieces of rebar, and things of that nature. The man-made materials come out. But the other thing that it entails, obviously, is the plant material. You're no longer producing fruits and vegetables, and things are starting to die off if you haven't cut them off to begin with. There's other things that people do, such as, they'll go ahead and remove all that garden waste and give it to livestock, chickens, goats, pigs, horses, cows, if it's still viable vegetation. That's one way of dealing with your garden waste and the cleanup. Another one is people will bring all that material out and they'll put it into composting. That is also a good practice. But when you hear of these practices and what people do, you have to give some considerations. Number one, like when you're composting, if you have certain diseases that develop in your garden, you don't exactly want to take that material and put it into your compost, and then after it's composted down, the next season you utilize that composting material in your potted plants or in your garden and maybe reintroduce those diseases into your soil around your fresh plants that you just planted in the spring. You might want to dispose of that by burning or something like that. As far as the animals are concerned, I guess as long as it doesn't hurt the animals, then that's always going to be a good practice if they're willing to eat it. Primarily, what I do is I do what they refer to as chop and drop. Now, what does that mean? That means primarily you're going to cut your plants at the base. Most people do, and leave the root system in the ground, or like some people, they'll just go ahead and pull them up out of the ground altogether. And then you just drop them. You just leave them lay. And that's not such a bad thing. After all, it mimics nature. When I have trees and stuff out here that come to age and they die off, or they've been blown over, struck by lightning, or been infested by some bugs or overtaken by the vines, then they're going to fall to the ground and drop and naturally decompose and decay. That's how we get all that lush, dark humus layer on the forest floor, along with the pine needles and leaves and grasses and stuff like that. So chop and drop method in your garden is basically mimicking nature. But the chop and drop, people hear that little tag phrase because it is quite easy and it's efficient and it does mimic nature. But I want to give you some thoughts on the chop and drop that I'm not such a fan of at all times. In particular, I'm not a fan of chop and drop and walking away. What I mean by walking away is just, what was that commercial? Set it and forget it kind of mentality. But I do the chop and drop. You'll see here in the videos, I went ahead of time and I pulled these cantaloupes up. I went ahead and cut them at the base, and then I pulled them all into piles like this. And we still, got green vegetation. What I'm doing here when I do this, when a plant has got overtaken by the bugs like they did this year because of my mistake and misidentification, is I went ahead and dropped that stuff and I leave it in a pile. And what I'm doing by doing this is I'm creating a habitat, and I'm using it as bait, so to speak, for squash bugs, stink bugs, and those leaf-footed bugs to go ahead and collect in these piles here. Then, even though I don't have fruits and vegetables growing on these plants, I come out here as if I do with my organic pesticide that I utilize. I did a video on that and shown and testified to how effective and how cheap it is, and organic. And I come out here and I shake these things up, and I'll do it until I'm confident enough that pretty much it's not providing any more nutrition, the plant material, like this green stuff over here that's piled up from the butternut. I'll just go ahead and utilize this as a target area to spray my bugs. And then I just walk away. I'll just give them a little shake or something like that, stir it around, and then I sit here for, 10 seconds to wait for movement. And I get a lot of bugs eliminated by doing this. If I go through here as I did this morning on the other piles, then I can just move it around a little bit and I will see all kinds of squash bugs in different phases. What I mean by phases is from the nymph phase. Like right there I did that. And I've got probably phase 3 or 4 on this squash bug here. I don't know if you can tell. There's an adult. Here's an adult. There's one probably phase 2 or 3, a nymph. They don't need your fruits and vegetables to thrive and survive. So just like I explained about your child, once they get to a certain age, your parenting, if you're a good parent, is not over. There's still work to be done. And this can have a major impact on your garden next year. It kind of goes along with the video I did on one of the mistakes I think a lot of people are making because they took some bad advice from other people about the squash bug eggs and just letting them fall to the ground. The egg drop video. Go take a listen to that. This is another thing that I think is contributing to a lot of people's problems when it comes to the bug infestation, in particular with the stink bug, squash bug, and that leaf-footed bug. Imagine you get out there in the spring. You've done your transplants or you sowed your seed and everything's coming up and it's 6 inches tall, 8 inches tall, 12 inches tall. I mean, everything's looking beautiful, lush, and green. And then all of a sudden it seems like they just all come from nowhere. These squash bugs and stink bugs. That is because these guys are taking refuge in the chop and drop material along with your soil, because your soil is typically going to be softer than the soil around the garden because it's typically a worked soil, so it's softer. They will bury themselves in the soil under debris, under wood chips, and take refuge for the winter. And when the temperatures get to a certain point, here they all come out of the ground, out of any of the organic plant material that hasn't fully decomposed, and they're all over your zucchinis, they're all over your pumpkins, and they just seem like they just flew in overnight. they were probably in your soil or under this debris that people chop and drop. I'm going to show you what I do. So if I want to eliminate and give myself the best opportunity and best chances for next growing season and reducing the amount of squash bugs, stink bugs, leaf-footed bugs, and whatever other kind of pests that are laying eggs on these things that I'm going to have a hard time finding, and I know they're still growing because I'm finding nymphs, I'm going to just go ahead and eliminate these eggs. I'm going to cook these guys because I know that when this heat hits these plants and there's any eggs on these plants and any bugs, they're going to pop within about a half a second, maybe a second. I do have a water hose turned on, ready, available, just in case the wind picks up and any embers fly away from me. So be mindful of that. Now I'm going to hit this green material. And I see the bugs. Immediately when that heat hits them, they're immediately dead. No finagling around. I can even hit my soil surrounding it if I see them trying to escape. Once I get them into a pile, I don't want to pick them up and move them to try to collect everything into one pile. If I lay it down at the base of where they were to begin with, they're more than likely going to collect together under that plant material, especially if it's got any green to it left at all, because there's still moisture and nutrients in this green viney foliage that they're feeding off of. They're not just feeding off your fruits and vegetables. They're feeding off the plant material itself, piercing the vines, piercing the leaves, and sucking out the sap. All right. Too bad you can't see them real up front and close. And I've got eggs on this dead leaf here. You know, that would be very difficult for me to find all them guys. This is a good, efficient way to take care of it. So I'll give it a second. I probably didn't have to do it that much. You just might want to turn it, if it's a green pile like this, once or twice, just to make sure you're covering all your area and there's no eggs that have been missed. Don't just assume chop and drop is a good thing. It is a good thing, but to chop and drop and walk away from it and just leave it for next season, you could be asking for big trouble there. All those bugs that are laying those eggs on the vines and foliage, you chop and drop just because you don't have fruits and vegetables coming off them plants anymore, they're still getting nutritional value out of those plants and that foliage. And even when it turns brown, it looks like there's nothing beneficial there, but at the bare minimum, it's providing habitat. Let it sit there for 2 or 3, 4 days, whatever you feel comfortable with, and just blast it. You'll just move it around a little bit. Watch the outside perimeter of that pile. You start seeing them run away. Man, you just barely get close to them, glazing them. They immediately pop or melt, die, whatever. Huge benefit if you do this for your fall garden cleanup. Now, I was thinking about the thousands and thousands of eggs that might be on that plant material. If you've had an infestation, you have to deal with this stuff now. And if they're on that plant material and you chop and drop, and I've proven it in the last video I did, they're going to hatch. And when they hatch, they're going to develop and grow. They're going to mate, lay more eggs. You know, anytime there's a nice warm day out, they're coming out. And that's where they're probably coming from. They're coming from your own soil when they come in such vast numbers all at once. So, I hope you got something out of it. Pass it on if you did. Share the information. You don't have to share this video and solicit and all that stuff. Share the information with your neighbors, because everything your neighbor does or doesn't do could potentially have an impact on your garden and growing abilities. And the same goes for you. You know, so you guys get together. Think about these things. Don't take everything for face value. Just hear chop and drop. Oh, you're going to feed nutrients into the soil. Yes, you are. But if you can answer any one of those two questions when it comes to disease and bugs during this current growing season, then you can't just chop and drop and walk away. You got to come back, eliminate these guys, use your brains, use your common sense, trap them, entice them into these piles, go out there and spray them or torch them. Because of the eggs, I'm a firm believer at some point in time I'm going to torch them. If you can't build a fire where you're at, one of these torches, man, you can just glaze over that stuff. Leave it laying on the ground. Have a nice day. May all your branches become full of fruit. Don't forget to share, and I'll see you next time. Hua. Right on.